Today we're talking about 3 of my most cinematic vintage lenses, and at least 2 of these lenses you can get for under 40 bucks. Not bad. Look at that. That is gorgeous. Hey, my name's Justin Brooks. I'm a director and DOP, and I absolutely love collecting vintage glass. Whether it be scouring the internet or tracking it down in dusty, musty antique shops, I absolutely love vintage lenses. But why all this love for the old stuff when you could just as easily get a tack-sharp, super clinical, clean Zeiss lens? Well, to begin with, it's all about character. Now, to preface this is all just my opinion, and if you don't share in that opinion, that's perfectly fine. In fact, that's even better than fine, because as filmmakers and cinematographers, one of our greatest tools is taste. And the fact that we don't share a taste entirely is a great thing. See, that means we have different films out there, different looking films, different looking images, because they are all matters of taste. If we all had the same taste, it'd just make filmmaking boring because everything would look the same. So again, this is my opinion. If you share it, that's wonderful. If not, don't worry about it. See, I come from the mantra of there are no bad lenses. There's only bad use case scenarios. See, these lenses, they're a great deal like our colors on a palette. And if we're looking to paint a beautiful green pasture, you're not going to fill your palette full of reds. That doesn't mean red is a bad color. That means red is just not the right color for this picture. That's the way I see lensing. There are no bad lenses. There's just wrong use case scenarios. But let's get into it. These really are 3 of my absolute favorite vintage lenses, and to make it a little more useful for you, I tried to make sure that we're working with a full focal range. That means I'm giving you a wide lens, I'm giving you a normal lens, and I'm giving you a telephoto lens. That way, if you're interested in going out and purchasing these for yourself, you have a complete lens set. And I really do think the last 2 lenses on this list are going to surprise you, honestly, because they surprised me. These are lenses I didn't hear about until I actually found them, and they became 2 of my absolute go-tos. Now, today we're doing an overview of these lenses. This is not really an in-depth review of any one lens, but if that's something you're interested in, if there's a lens that you're looking to pick up that you'd like to see more about, leave a comment down below and I'll be happy to oblige. Now, moving on to our first lens, and the only lens that I really think shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, I mean, get the common stuff out of the way, right? That is the Helios 44-2 58mm 2.8. So here we are in the shop. This is some remnants of a short horror film that I shot just recently, so our still life's gonna be a little creepy, but it's pretty on brand for me, so what the hell. Now, the Helios is one of the absolute most celebrated vintage lenses on the internet, and I think that's mainly due to 2 reasons. 1, it's just got a beautifully specific look. And 2, well, because they made an absolute bajillion of them back in the day, they're pretty easy to find and usually at a pretty reasonable price. Now, depending on what copy of this lens you're looking to purchase, prices may vary. That is to say, if you're a collector and you're looking to get the original copy of the lens made in the original factory, that's going to be a little more expensive. But if you're looking to just get any copy of the Helios 44-2, many of them you can get for that price of $150. And even if you are a collector like myself and you're looking for an original copy of this lens from the original factory, then you're still only looking at around $300 to $400 for that lens. But no matter what copy of this lens you're looking to purchase, they all have essentially the same image qualities, and you'd have to be pretty hard pressed to be able to find a difference between each copy of this lens. Now, the Helios 44 is an absolutely beautiful lens. It is with good reason that this lens has been brought to the forefront of recent cinematography through films like the Batman and the Dune trilogy. It is just absolutely perfect for that. There's no wonder this is used in film after film recently. There's no wonder why this is one of the most purchased vintage lenses. because it just does the job narratively. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now, companies like Iron Glass do make cinemodded versions of this lens, but still, if you decide to get an original from eBay for just 150 bucks, you can be shooting through the exact same glass as cinematographers like Greg Fraser. Now, the lens is known for its swirling bokeh and out of focus areas. It is an absolutely gorgeous lens, but if you don't want to go for that look in particular, you can still stop down the lens and lessen the overall character of the bokeh. But if that beautiful swirly bokeh is actually what you're looking for, just open that lens up and watch this lens beautifully encompass your subject. Now, this lens, as well as every lens on this list, are M42 mount lenses. That's what they used to call the universal mount. All it is a screw mount lens, which makes it unbelievably easy to adapt. In fact, this is the adapter right here for my L mount camera. All it is just a little screw area, and then you throw it on the L mount. There's no electronics, nothing to make this an expensive adapter. They're cheap, they're easy to find, and you can adapt these lenses to every camera type. This Helios 44-2 58mm is one of my absolute favorite vintage lenses and a complete mainstay in my kit. This is a beautiful lens and one of my favorites. But moving on to lens number 2. And out of the bunch, this is our wide angle lens. This is the Auto Tamron 35mm f2.8. This is one of my absolute favorite wide angle lenses. Now, I say wide angle because I'm shooting typically on a full frame camera. 35 is perfectly wide for full frame, in my opinion. But if you're shooting a Super 35 crop, this is gonna get a little tighter and you might wanna be looking for, well, wider lenses. Now, you can find this lens typically on eBay for under $40. In fact, I found mine in an old antique shop for about 20 bucks. When I find lenses for $20 or below, I just buy them because I have no idea if that's gonna be my next favorite lens. And this one, when it came home with me, absolutely became one of my favorite wide angle lenses. Much like the Helios 44, this has an absolute beautiful out of focus area. This really has this three-dimensional quality to it that pulls your character forward. That slight barrel distortion, although you can't notice it, it's not like an anamorphic or anything, it really does just subtly pull ever so close to your character. I love this lens. This is one of my absolute mainstays when it comes to wide angle lenses on my full frame cameras. Now, this lens is an absolute tank. Like many vintage lenses, this lens comes in an entirely metal jacket with full metal mechanics inside. This lens is likely, if treated well, going to outlast you. Now, this lens really does add to the three-dimensionality of your image and really pulls that subject forward. It's also sharp, but not like clinically sharp, just pleasingly so. I would say there's a softness to its sharpness, softness to its sharpness. It's sharply soft, softly sharp. It's sharply soft. It's softly sharp, if that's a thing. It really, at the end of the day, to me looks, and I know the word, it looks cinematic. Now, like many vintage lenses, this lens does have a tendency to discolor over time. I found when I picked up my lens, it had a bit of a warmer color shift in there, but it's not an issue. You just go to Amazon or IKEA, pick up a small UV lamp, shine that through the back to the front for about 24 to 48 hours, and that usually clears up that discoloration. Now, for me, this has become a real go-to when it comes to my vintage wide angles. It serves my purpose for most wide shots that I need to get on a full frame camera. And on top of those beautiful wides, with that beautiful focus fall off and the way it resolves, I get a dreamy close-up out of this lens as well. It's really become a go-to, something of a mainstay in my kit for sure. Now, moving on to our third and final lens and the longest focal length of the group, this is the Auto Vivitar 135mm 2.8. You can typically find this for, again, under 40 bucks on eBay. And like the other lens, I found this in an old antique shop. for about 20 bucks and took it home. Now, one of my absolute favorite things about this lens is the actual build of the lens. This is, once again, a full metal lens with metal innards, but this actually comes with its own built-in lens hood, which is good because the flaring on this lens is pretty rough. And within the hood, it's actually lined with a black felt that really cuts down on reflections. Now, if like me, you like to use filtration on your lenses, don't worry, the hood just pops back and you've got your filtration abilities right there. I mean, the size of this lens alone is fantastic. This is a 135 and it's just so little. If you really wanted to and you are a complete madman, you could throw this on a gimbal, no problem. I don't know why you'd want to, but it'd probably look pretty cool. Now, this lens is not a close focus lens. In fact, I think the closest focus is just under 5 foot. Now, the close focus, well, I mean, to say close would be a misnomer in this. Now, at that 5 foot on a full frame camera, you're still talking about a close-up. This is a 135. And if you were to move any closer than that 5 foot mark, you're getting into macro lens territory. In fact, if you're shooting on a Super 35 or a crop sensor camera, then you're definitely gonna get very close to macro territory with this. But again, not a close focusing lens. This is a 135. This is not a macro. The closest you're getting to your subject is just under 5 feet. And at that point, you're still talking about a pretty close close-up. Now, this lens is slightly less contrasty than our other lenses, and it is really susceptible to flaring and veiling. But that's not an issue with the lens hood. And then as far as the contrast goes, you bring it into post color, add a little contrast in color, and you're matching the other two lenses no problem. But otherwise, this lens resolves beautifully. It really is a good-looking telephoto lens. It's typically difficult to get a look out of a telephoto such as a 135, but I think this Vivitar really brings it. It's got a very pleasing sharpness to it. It's just a gorgeous close-up lens. And that's it. Those are 3 of my absolute favorite vintage lenses, a 3-lens kit that can cover all your basics, wide, medium, tight, and everything under $300. I mean, that is an absolute win for independent filmmakers. Now, these lenses really do add a look to your image. They bring a certain sauce to the image, and these are not going to be useful in all situations. These are not probably corporate lenses. These are probably not going to be used on the super clean commercial work. But if, like me, you love working in narrative, these really do add a look to the story. And I love going to lenses like this to add that extra visual story to the film. But what are your thoughts? Did you see something you'd like to try out, or vintage lenses just not for you? I mean, all opinions are welcome, but please, as always, keep your comments constructive and respectful. And if you'd like to see me go into any deeper dives into any one of these lenses, do comment below and I'll see what I can do. I mean, this has been an overview of 3 of my favorites. Any one of these, I'm very happy to create a singular video diving into the characters of that lens if this is something that you're looking to possibly purchase in the future. And as always, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Please do come back for all things filmmaking and film related. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. All right, let's go outside.